Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on X, here to review the 2-2 draw against Liverpool, which was yesterday. And to do that, I've got my co-host at FPL Nemo with me. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to be here, Clayton. I've just about recovered from the emotions of yesterday now. It's been nearly a whole day, right? 24 hours. And looking forward to hearing your thoughts because we've, as always, not really discussed our thoughts for the summaries of the game. So it can all be very raw and fresh today in the podcast.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the place to start, really. Like you say there, you've kind of just about recovered and your emotions and stuff. Like, I think the format for this one, but we'll do like our summaries. We'll talk through some of the key moments. The lineup was obviously a discussion. We'll then talk about injuries, and if we have time, and depending if there's people in the live chat, we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Maybe look at the lineup we think we'll put out against Preston midweek, which I'll be going to. Very excited for that, but. Yeah, one place to start. I'm interested in that was you talking about your recovery and the emotions. How were you feeling at the end of the game versus how you're feeling now today?
I think I feel more like I've accepted my peace with it today. But yesterday, it felt very much like kind of 2 points dropped at the end of the game. I think being in the North Bank, seeing us score what I thought was the winner, and then kind of not understanding why it wasn't being given, it just, I think that kind of tipped me over the edge a bit there. And just a few moments like that, kind of, you can't unsee a goal, right? So it was just very
Did you have a
frustrating.
really clear view on it then? Because I sit in the upper east stand, so opposite the tunnel. I could see like not handbags. I could see argy bargy going on and stuff. But I thought from my seat it was ruled out for the push on Trent from Havertz on the goal line. So it wasn't until after I got home I realized it was for the header from Kivior that was supposedly the foul, and like the timeline of when he blew the whistle, etc. Did you have a clearer view on that then from your seat?
Yeah, so I was literally straight on. So I think I was in the lower tier North Bank, about 25 rows back, and I was quite central to the goal. So I kind of just felt like they were literally right in front of me, like 30, 40 yards away, like passing to each other as it kind of just bounced its way towards the goal. And I guess in that moment, I wasn't keeping an eye on every incident, but everyone kind of was questioning, like, is it offside? They were like, surely it can't be offside. Like none of that. So I think I was like looking for an offside, and I was like, how? Like how early in the phase of play was this offside if there was one?
Yeah.
It was only when I got home like you that I was like, oh right, like they're saying it was a foul. And I was just a
Yeah.
bit like, I think that's what pissed me off. Like the whole way home, seeing all the videos, the replays, seeing the Martinelli challenge as well. Another one where that was on the opposite end of the pitch from me in the first half. So I just kind of saw a lot of commotion. I saw someone get taken out. I saw calls for a penalty and a VAR check. 10 minutes later, they put the message right on the screen where they said, VAR have checked this, and they say
Yeah.
Kanate's got the ball.
Yeah.
So
We'll
again,
we'll
it was,
talk about that in
we'll
more
talk about that
detail.
later, yeah.
Yeah.
But in
But yeah.
general, yeah, the goal, I kind of saw it and it didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. Like, just looked like what you would see in any given game of football, like people jumping in the air, challenging for the ball. Like, I was just
Yeah.
baffled. That wouldn't even cross my mind that would be why it was ruled out.
Even that will I reckon let's save that for later on when we kind of go through the key moments and
Yep.
everything. But in terms of again, the other thing there you said was I don't want to put words in your mouth. I remember you said 2 points dropped, but I can't remember in the context you said it. So like is that the feeling you had yesterday or
Just
and ha-
yesterday, yeah.
yeah,
So
sure.
it was because of the way we kind of went ahead both times. It really looked like we had what it took. And the first half performance wasn't what I was expecting. Like, I thought we did very well. We had a lot of control. It looked like, Timber was doing very well considering he was a late test against the likes of Mo Salah. I believe until, the Gabriel injury, it very much felt like we were in kind of control. Like even the first goal we conceded, it felt like a mistake of our own making. Like they were both sloppy goals, it felt like I didn't feel like Liverpool were carving us up or anything.
Yeah, big time to be honest. And my summary is very similar to you. Like until Gabriel went off, do you know what? I couldn't believe how easy it was, to be honest.
Mm.
Like I thought it looked like there was a gulf in class between the two teams, and we looked like you. If I woke up from a coma and I was watching that first half, and I can't remember when Gabriel went off, like 55 minutes or whatever. So
Yeah.
let's just have, if I was watching that game up until Gabriel went off, but especially the first half, I wouldn't have thought Liverpool were the team that was top of the league. Genuinely, like, and I'm not saying this to be spiteful. This is my genuine analysis of the game. I thought Liverpool were poor, and it looked like we were cut like streets ahead of them when Gabriel was in the team. And then, like, I want to talk about the kind of post Gabriel and the shift in momentum later, but I was so proud of that first half. I just felt like even the timing of the goals, like Saka getting his, I think it was around the 9th, 10th minute. And again, we'll talk about those specific moments later on. But the timing of that goal, and then like they came back into it. And I thought we dropped off slightly, but then recovered really well, got the goal just before halftime. And I remember saying to my mate, because we had a real period where it was just sustained territory against them, and it really felt like we were moving through the thirds quickly. We were being effective with how we attacked, which I feel like in previous weeks we've been a little bit sluggish, a bit slow, didn't get any of that vibe at all. And I said to my mate, like, we need to go into halftime ahead and capitalize on that, because I think that's something that Arsenal have been lacking in, converting that territory into something tangible. And so the timing of that was perfect. And then I went into half time saying to my mate, I think there's another 2-3 goals on the table here for us. I thought it was so dominant. I was so proud of what I was seeing. And then, like, I've got some really strong opinions on what I think happened in the second half, which was the domino effect, Gabriel going off. But yeah, I just thought, if I can even take it a step back, to be honest, like the experience of going to Arsenal, you and I are so blessed, right? We've got season tickets, like we go to every home game, like I go to quite a few aways and stuff. Like the atmosphere, I think recently has been a little bit disappointing, especially the Shakhtar game. It was poor.
Yeah, for sure.
The atmosphere yesterday was so much better, and like
It was electric. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And like I always go to the same area before kickoff. Just like there's one particular area in the North Bank where, like, in the concourse, it's raucous and it gets going. And even that has been consistent for 2 seasons now, but it's not really been at the level that I'm used to in the last few games. And I was talking about it with my mate on our way to the stadium, like, oh, do you think it'll be good? Do you think? And oh my God, it didn't take long. I think we were all in there for like the Chelsea Newcastle game. And then when that ended, maybe around 3:15, it started ramping up and it just fled into the stadium. And I was proud of the supporters, because recently I've been a bit annoyed by the atmosphere and stuff. So I thought that set the tone really well as well. And yeah, like I said, I think first half was outstanding from us, to be honest. Every man was brilliant. It's interesting. I thought Timber struggled personally. I know nothing clear came from it, but I thought in like if I was to have like a magnifying glass and look at it in detail, like the 1v1 duels and battles, I did think Salah had the better of him, but like you said, he was lacking match sharpness. Arteta said word for word they accelerated his progress to try and get him available, so fair play to him for putting himself in a position to be available for the game, sorry. But yeah, all in all, just I'm really down about the injuries, to be honest, because I think and I know Liverpool had Alisson out and Jota out from their starting 11. I can't confess to know what their squad depth is like injury-wise at the minute, but in terms of the starting 11, that's what I know definitively was an issue for them. But in terms of the knock-on effect on what we're dealing with, of no Odegaard, Saliba the red card, which we've seen another incident from the weekend that was similar. I'd say even more closer to goal.
Closer to the goal, yeah.
Closer to the goal. Everyone knows who I'm talking about there. So no Odegaard, no Saliba. The fact that we're having to rush back Timber, Saka, who weren't 100% fit, no first choice left back. Tomiyasu, someone that would have played, I think, if 100% fit. Like the domino effect and what that led to us ending the game with defensively is why I feel downbeat. Like I don't really look at it as 2 points dropped, because I think within you remember that interview Arteta did a couple of weeks ago? It's like, you have to remember the context, and he was like, talking about his flip-flops in the rain and this and that. Like I think it's with that context and the injuries and how we ended the game personnel wise. I just think, like, just to be honest, I'm surprised I've not seen Liverpool get more flack for how they approached it, and how if we ended a game and the opposition defence was Thomas Partey right back, Ben White, Jackie Kiwior, and a 17-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly, and we didn't win that game, I'd be having serious conversations. So I think Liverpool are getting off very lightly with A, how they approached the game in the first half, and B, their inability to actually go and take advantage of us missing so many key components. So sorry, I know I went on a bit there, but that's my
it's good to get the
summary.
full high-level summary, before we go into individual moments. I guess, do you want to maybe talk about what you thought when the lineup did come out? You were talking about kind of like a not fully fit Saka, not fully fit Timber. I feel like this is a good point to talk about our feelings when we saw this lineup. Was it, I know you predicted the party right back. I don't think either of us thought that Timber and Party would play as the fullbacks. Personally, I think
No,
we thought Kivio would get in, right?
yeah, because you had Timber as the I can't remember if you had him fullback or centre back, but you had Timber in the 11. But neither of us thought Party would be the right back, right? So yeah, Merino got
Marino, I didn't think would start as well. Yeah, that's true.
no. He and yeah, like, do you want to talk about him now? Like, well, no, sorry. Let me answer your question first. When the lineup
Yeah,
dropped,
what did you think when it dropped? Yeah.
confident. So confident because like, do you remember I said in the preview, if Timber and Saka are in the team, I think we win this game. What I didn't perhaps think about, which is something for me to learn for next time, is if they're going to be in the 11, they're not going to be 100% match sharp. And then obviously I didn't foresee a Gabriel or someone of that significance, sorry, going off. I didn't picture us in a scenario where we're having a 17-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on, and that could be like that's one to debate. Like, is that self-imposed because we did have a Zinchenko available? But yeah, to answer your actual question, when the lineup dropped, I felt so confident. I was a bit nervous about the idea of Partey versus a Luis Diaz, but my God, how well did he do? Thomas Partey was my man of the match, personally. How did you feel when it dropped?
Yeah, so I think I was quite happy with it. I thought this is like as strong as we can go on the day. I just honestly thought to myself, like, this is it. Like, this is it. This is the 4-4-2. This is the Havertz and Trossard up top, the two wingers, pivot of Merino, Rice. Maybe it gets the best out of both of them. Glad to see Timber, glad to see Saka. For like, this is the best team we can list based on availability. And thank God both Timber and Saka were available. I think, yeah, it was like I was obviously expecting the worst. I was pretty confident Saka would start. Timber was more like, I didn't feel so confident on that one, even though I predicted it. I did not think it. I think I was just being, I just thought maybe Arteta's being coy, which I don't think he was in reality. I think the fact that Timber then went off with the cramp, like, kind of says it all. Thankfully, that doesn't look too serious.
Is that confirmed?
Gabriel's
Is that what
knee.
it was? It was cramp.
Well, apparently that was cramp, whereas Gabriel was more like an actual hit to the knee. So I think that could be a couple of weeks. Maybe we don't see him till the international break, which not ideal, but 1 in, 1 out. Saliba's back now from his suspension, hopefully. So, but overall, when I saw the lineup, I was very happy with this. I honestly thought, like, especially the double pivot of Merino Rice, I thought this is something that could work really well. And I know Merino, people have been getting on his back. He'd only had one start before this in the league, and that was obviously away from home. So it was his home league debut. And despite scoring the goal, I'm still hearing people criticize him today.
Oh, really?
So I just find it crazy.
I've not really been too involved in social since yesterday, just because I knew narratives from major broadcasters would wind me up. What's the general consensus on Merino then? And then what's your kind of personal opinion on his performance yesterday?
So, like, I think in the stadium, like, most people were happy he scored. They were glad he got his goal. I think he needed to get off the mark to win some fans over. People said, he's a DM in the previous game, all this stuff. I felt the thing I liked most was it looked like him and Martinelli were starting to form some kind of understanding or slowly building a chemistry or relationship. We always talk about that Saka-Odegaard-White relationship on the right-hand side. We talk about, Martinelli last season missing Xhaka, missing a consistent left back. And, you would hope that the Calafiori, Merino, Martinelli triangle is something that does work when everyone's fit eventually.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make on that relationship, because there's something about having and I really like that it was a double pivot as well, because I think it's starting to get the best out of Declan Rice as well. I thought he was much better. Just have him centrally, have him like deeper, like able to see the game behind the ball. He is not someone that is a fucking second striker. I don't know what we've been doing with it, like, and I'm exaggerating there, of course, but like I don't like him in that top left 8 area. Like, I think there's only one specific game state that suits him, and you can't really control that when it is transition based because of how teams defend against us. But yeah, I know we're talking about Merino, but just them as a pair, I thought they were so good
together. That was the thing. It was they brought out the best in each other, I thought, which is why I didn't understand all the criticism that I then saw Merino getting online. I think people just clamoring for the young players, right? They talk about like Ethan not coming on soon enough, and yet he did come on when we wanted to win the game. So what more trust can be shown? Lewis-Skelly came on ahead of Zinchenko and Kivio back-to-back games. Like, what more trust can a manager show? Like, I think I already saw some stats that showed that Ethan has now played more minutes than Saka at the same age, and
Oh,
more
wow.
Premier League minutes. So, in my naive mind, 5-6 years ago when Saka was 17, I just kind of assumed he played a lot, the way we talk about it, right? And yet
Yeah.
Ethan's played more minutes than him.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't turn 18 till March, and he's already played more minutes than when Saka had turned 18. So how
Yeah.
many more is he going to play between now and March? Probably quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
He'll
I
get.
get people want him to get in. They thought, oh, Odegaard's out. This is the best time. It's not about when's the best time for us. It's just unfortunate that the Odegaard injury came that early in the season. Like, Ethan is going to be a big part of this team and the first team squad going forwards. And the whole point of Merino was he's an international Euro final winner who is at his prime age coming in to win trophies. He's a trophy winner. He's a dual winner, and he is not going to be there for the long term to give people like Ethan time to not have to be pushed like Kobe Mainu or Yamal and these guys. And like we saw Mikey Moore start. And again, people were like, oh, look, like Mikey Moore started for Spurs. Well, look what they fucking lost.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the team from 6 years ago that had to play 16, 17-year-olds because there's literally fuck all else we had. I want to be the team that nurtures them and gives them an environment to be first team players. And that's what Arteta said about them. When he asked about Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri, they said to him, will they get more minutes and stuff? And are they an option? And he said, of course they're an option. They're in the first team squad now. They're no longer
Yeah.
like Haaland graduates. These guys are first team players.
I just want to read out. So I've got
Yeah.
Phil Foden's history in front of me, right? Because I think that's a very good comparison to use, just because he was 17 when he made his Premier League debut for Manchester City. Phil Foden in the 17-18 season, when he was 17 years old, got 49 minutes across 5 matches. In the season after that, when he was 18 years old, he made 3 starts and appeared in 13 matches, 335 minutes. The season after, 9 starts and across 23 matches. 9 starts and contributed in 23 matches in 901 minutes. And so you could see it was only when he was 19 that he kind of got substantial minutes. Even when he was 18, 330. I think his first season when he was 17 years old, he contributed in 5 matches and got 49 minutes. I think Nwaneri will be surpassing that already. So, yeah, I'm not concerned about it. I've just got one thing I want to talk about on Merino is, again, like, sorry, I lost my train of thought before, but what you were speaking about, the relationship with the left-hand side. There's something about having a left footer that can receive the ball in the areas he operates on the left-hand side that opens up such a natural angle to progress it in one pass less than when you've got a Declan Rice there or any right-footing player there, because you take the ball, you open your body up, bang, gone. When it's a right-footed player, they take the ball, they have to take another touch to open it up and then play the pass. So it shaves so many seconds and it shaves an extra touch that enables us to progress it quicker. The other thing I really liked, and we didn't see it so much in this game, I think because it was a more traditional double pivot, but there was one game, I can't remember which one it was, but he was getting into the areas. Remember what Granit Xhaka would do with Zinchenko, Martinelli? Like they would kind of rotate around. Granit Xhaka would kind of drive forward, get into that kind of half space area and put a cross in. And again, it's the left-footedness of the angle that it creates for him. Merino was doing that in another game. It happened once in this game as well, where ball came over, unbelievable touch. He just like controlled it like a ballerina in the air, and he was in the right position to be able to put a cross in. When it's a right-footed player there, they get in the position, but they then have to cut back because it's very unnatural for them to go to the byline and whip it in with their left. So I really like the angles that it's opening up for us in being there. I think it was a game where he grew into it. I think technically he looked a bit rusty with some of his actions, but he grew into it and got his goal. And I was encouraged by what I saw by that double pivot. I think, especially without Odegaard, I mean, like Partey's been phenomenal there as well. But given the injuries at the minute, we might have to get used to Partey at right back. And it's nice to see that partnership between Merino and Rice looked fairly solid and grew as the game went on. And then obviously they were under the cosh after Gabriel went off.
Yeah, I think you've said that you've hit the nail on the head. Ultimately, the more Merino plays, the more chemistry he builds with the rest of the squad, the more hopefully we see a fully operational midfielder with an Odegaard, Rice, Merino. We're yet to really see that properly. So, you know, that's again one thing that's been missing. I think, you know, Marino's not had the chance to actually play with the playmaker Odegaard in the team.
Yeah,
Saka's
that
done all the playmaking duties. Like,
literally that, and he's not been able to play the position he was signed to play. He was signed to come in and be a left-sided 8. He can be a left-sided double pivot. He can play six back. That's not why we signed him. So, yeah, be easy on him.
yeah, I think that's the thing. You'd think we learned from the Cole Kai Havertz start of last season, and now look at him. So, you know, some players just need a bit of love. I think the other thing I would say, we can talk more about maybe the goals now and the incidents. I think we talked about the lineup. I think overall, yeah, your standout performer was probably Thomas Partey. I think it's hard for me to disagree. Two other players I just want to shout out. I think Declan Rice, as you said already, like he was phenomenal playing that deep. You know, I guess being the guy who's like, you know, the enforcer, like winning all the balls,
Doing what
starting
he
the
does
attack.
best.
Yeah, like starting the attack from deep, winning the ball, pinging it up the pitch, like driving forward. Like it's just, that was what I want to see more of. So I'm hoping we see more of that.
It's
And
funny that, isn't it? Like when you buy a player of that quality and play him in his best position, it's funny what happens. Like
it's like suddenly he looks day and night different.
yeah, but like this idea of him as this high left 8, I don't get it at all. Like even when he plays in this deeper double pivot, because he's got the security there next to him, he's able to go and carry the ball. I think Arteta wants him to be a carrier, but let him do it from deep. That's where he does it best, I think. Don't place him high
People
straight
don't know
away.
what to do. The acceleration he builds up from deep, by the time he gets to the guy who's trying to take him out, they're done for. Like what he did to that midfield three, you know, before the game, we spoke about how Gravenberch has had an amazing season. He was eating them all for breakfast.
He was
McAllister,
anonymous.
Gravenberch, they were just done. Like their entire midfield three, he literally got them all. Like they couldn't lay a finger on him. And even Arnie Slot after the game was high in praise about Declan Rice.
Oh, really? I've not seen that. Fair play.
Yeah. See if I could, like, he said a few things, but
while you're finding that, I just want to add to the shout outs of players, if you don't mind. Like Ben
yeah,
White,
go for it.
I fucking love this guy. Like we've obviously been without him for a few weeks. He's come back in, probably probably wasn't 100% fit, but then to just slot in at centre back the way he did, obviously got the assist for Saka's goal. I just thought he was really, really good. And like Partey, I know I mentioned it already, but I just want to emphasize, like, I think again it comes from what my expectations were pre-game. I was nervous as hell about him at right back against Luis Diaz. He was so good to the point where I would say he pocketed Luis Diaz. I know he got the better of him once or twice, but I wish I had the stats on the duels in front of me. But I want to bet good money he won most of the duels. He was front-footed. He shut the space down. He didn't give space for him to dribble past him. He was in his back. And do you know what? Luis Diaz fouled Partey quite a lot as well. Like, there are a few times where...
I think it was 7 fouls from Diaz.
Was it? Mate, how he didn't get a yellow card? Like, there were a few specific ones where I think if you total it up, they were at least 2 yellow card offences in that 7. But yeah, Thomas Partey, just shout out. Because
So his stats here, so this is a mad one, right? A mad one. He became the first Arsenal player since January 2020, okay, who recorded 3+ fouls won, 5+ tackles won, 10+ duels won, 75 touches since Bukayo Saka versus Chelsea in January 2020.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just... Yeah, I was in awe of that performance. Because do you remember earlier on in the season, like I was probably one of the only ones like trying to defend him because I thought he was making mistakes, but like it wasn't as bad as people were making out, in my opinion. And I think he was phenomenal, and I think he's been phenomenal the last couple games, even in midfield as well. So
and he's been more available than he's ever been for us. Like I'm actually in shock. Like
I'm like waiting
he's
for like
fucking contract, man. This guy, this guy.
I'm like, how long is this availability gonna last? But yeah, let's enjoy it while it's there, because if the rest of the squad is anything to go by, it's not gonna last long.
Maybe that's what it is. Like Thomas Partey being fit as long as he has is now like caused juju for everyone else getting injured because it's just so like unlikely.
I feel like the juju may have actually been some of the way the way some of the Arsenal fans celebrated Rodri's ACL, to be honest. Because what have we done to deserve this?
Yeah, the karma for celebrating injuries. That's why you never celebrate injuries, man. No player should have their career impacted like that. So Arnie Slot, about what he said. So I just want to find you what he said about Declan Rice, because I thought it was quite interesting. He said, we could not control the midfield. We were beaten to every ball by Rice. He is an outstanding player. We could not cope with him, but my players tried their best. So, like, that is high fucking praise, you know? Like, playing him deep and let him just win every fucking ball. He literally ran those three midfielders on his own. And Gravenberch's been insane all season, as I mentioned. So it's like, I don't think like we should take lightly how good he looked in that game. Yeah. And I hope we see more of that partnership with Merino form. I hope, you know, it sounds like there's good news as well about Odegaard training on the grass. Obviously, it doesn't mean, yeah, so he should start training on the grass this week, I think, or next week. And it doesn't mean Mikel will pick him or say that he's available. But I know the Norwegian national team say that they're fairly confident that hopefully they're optimistic he will go to the fucking squad in November. And that's only 2 weeks away.
Okay, nice. Yeah, fingers
So
crossed he stays fit for them this time. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talked about the individual. Let's talk about a few moments then, I think, with the time we have left. Yeah, so you get the Rob StatsBot or MarkStatsBot as it is on X. So he's got two accounts. Yeah. No, oh, yeah, I'm talking about a different guy. Yeah. I saw the R in the MarkStats and I'm like, shit, there's so many of them. So yeah, so MarkStats, his visuals as always, they have the XG, the cumulative XG graphic and the cumulative expected threat. If you're on podcast, 26-minute timestamp or timestamp this, you can come and look at the visuals. And yeah, it's just 1.25 XG for Arsenal, 1.54 for Liverpool. Expected threat 1.13 for Arsenal, 1.34 for Liverpool. 45% possession for Arsenal, 55% possession for Liverpool. Field tilt pretty even, 49% to 51%. And defensive action height, 49 and 44 respectively. So like on the data side of things, and kind of if you compare our first half and their second halves, I would say 2-2 or a draw does feel fair in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I think it's just the nature of like the points, right? Like I said yesterday, it felt like 2 points dropped to me just because we went ahead twice and looked so good in the first half. But in the grand scheme of things, like I can't really argue with that result. And now it's what? I think it's 13 or 14 consecutive games against the Big Six that we have not lost now. You know, you take us back to 2017, we're losing that game 4-0. Like, yeah. It's a different team from back then. Like,
yeah, and yeah, in terms of moments, like I feel like there's different chunks to this game. Like the first one is obviously we got the goal very early, which the woman that sits like 2 seats away from me said a stat that I may have got this wrong now, but it was something like in the last 5 meetings between Arsenal and Liverpool, there's been a goal in like the first 15 minutes or something, and the other one was something around us not scoring in the first 15 minutes this season. I need to check that, but that sounds about right. So like, because it does feel like this season we're discussing a lot, like after Southampton, like, oh, we got in the right areas, but it didn't quite convert. It was so nice that like in the 9th minute, Ben White clips that ball over the top. Saka just fucking sits Robertson down. Like Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli in that first half had Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson on absolute toast. Konate did a good job of coming in and helping out, but Martinelli had Trent, and that goal I just thought was absolutely outstanding. Like the ball from White, I'm not sure that's a ball Saliba plays, you know.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't know whether it's. I don't even think it. I think it's because like it's crazy 2 years probably now, right? Since Ben White really played as a centre back for us. Yep. So like to come in like that, not fully fit, and to just take the game like that and make that pass. And just Saka, the way he receives the ball, the way he drops his defender, the shot he takes on the inside post, kept the keeper guessing till the end. The power, the celebration, the captain's armband while he's not fully fit himself. And I think it was his 50th goal for Arsenal.
Yeah, he becomes the, I think, the youngest to have achieved that for us.
He is. In terms of youngest players, actually, now that you mention it, he also becomes, like, I think in the top 5, 6 or 7 players in terms of youngest to ever just get 50 goals. Like
I saw that, and I saw another tweet from someone. Sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they made a really good point. On that list, most of them were centre forwards, and like Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka literally started as a left back in the first team, so to be on that list, like he is absolutely unbelievable.
So he's 7th, by the way. So I'll tell you who they were. So he's 23 years old, 52 days for 50 Premier League goals. Harry Kane, 23 years, 44 days. Cristiano Ronaldo, 22 years, 340 days. Lukaku, Rooney, Owen, and Fowler.
So it's literally strikers and one of the best wide forwards the world has ever seen.
yeah. Like one of the people who everyone argues about is here.
And then
GOAT.
Ronaldo. Hey.
all I know, is there's a Ballon d'Or winner there. You like the pronunciation this
Oh
week?
yeah, you're learning. But,
I'm learning because it's tonight, right?
Yeah, it is tonight. But yeah, Saka is just like the goal's the obvious one, right? Like you described it nicely, but it's just his all-round play, his strength, the way he gets himself into these tight alleys and then just uses his body strength and his technique to get out and then create another angle to move the ball on. It's just absolutely outstanding. Like we are so blessed. Look how we've literally spawned a world-class winger from our academy. Like it feels like it's happened overnight.
If we wanted to buy this kind of player in the market, we'd be paying 150 mil.
Unai Emery wanted to trade this guy for fucking Wilfred Zaha and money, and people wonder why we get annoyed when they talk about Emery at Arsenal.
That is incredible, to be fair. Oh, by the way, he did also say something at the end of the game, which I thought is quite interesting, because both him and Arteta aren't using excuses. So I don't get where this stuff from rival fans about Arsenal trying to use injuries as an excuse comes from, because Arteta in the pre-game and post-game conferences basically said, like, this is football, like, that's fine, like, we have to go and win regardless. Like, so no one at the club is making these excuses that supposedly Arsenal are making, that people are saying you're making excuses, you're not the only club that gets injuries, firstly. Secondly, this is Saka's quote at the end of the game. He said, we're a bit disappointed. Credit to Liverpool. They're a good team, but we feel like we didn't show our best selves for the full 90 minutes. So regardless of who was out there, the makeshift back four, he is openly saying we did not show the best of ourselves in 90 minutes. And the manager said similar. He said, despite the situation we're in, we should be doing more. We should be doing better.
Yeah.
And then you compare that to other people, right? Who are like, oh my God, like excuse after excuse every weekend. And yet somehow we've been labeled the team that's making excuses when not a single one of our players or manager makes fuck all excuses. So where is this coming from, Clayton? I think
it's coming from fans like myself who think if we didn't have the injuries, we would have won this game, and therefore I'm using it as an excuse.
but it's not an excuse, it's context, right? It's the context, like Arteta said of the game. Like, you can't deny the facts. Like, yeah, had we had our 11, the way we played that first half, I don't see how their best 11 could match or come close to our 11.
11v11, their strongest team versus our strongest team. We fucking smoke them. There is such a gulf in quality between the two teams. And as long as we have a bit of luck with injuries over the course of the season, I'm confident the league table will show that come May.
My main thing is, right, I feel like we need to be within like 5 points, maybe 6 points come January. So my thinking is that we need to just get to that point. Like, we've got 2 away games now, right? We've got Newcastle, we've got Chelsea. We need to go there. We need to get to the international break in December. Hopefully, once we come back from the international break, I think we should have a fully fit squad, fingers crossed. And then from there, I don't think we leave London in December. We basically play either at home or against other London clubs. So we then have a month in December where we're just in London or thereabouts, hopefully. And come January, maybe the transfer window shows some kind of opportunity we didn't know. Maybe we find the final missing piece we need. Maybe, maybe other teams like City go and try to find people too. Who knows? But for me, it's just yesterday's game made me feel that catching up the 4 points on Liverpool is not even something I'm even concerned about. Like I thought last season when they fell off. What it did tell me, though, is that City and catching 5 points on them, that's only going to be doable if it's still 5 points come January. Because if that gap widens, and, they've got to face Liverpool in the next 4, they've got to face Spurs in the next 4, so we'll know to lay the land better. But if we don't get these 6 points against like Newcastle and Chelsea, and City get through their games with Liverpool and Spurs unscathed, we start to get to January a bit further behind than 5-6 points, and I get nervous. But in terms of the run-in, I think we have the best run-in out of all 3 of those teams. And last year we showed. We went 16-1-1. I think we can do that again. Come January, fully fit squad, we push. But we just need to be there. We need to still be there. That's the main thing.
And I know you spoke there about Liverpool and Tottenham, that Man City play. I think there's some other teams there that aren't, air quotes, traditional big teams that are very much potential banana skins for Man City. When I look at those matchups tactically, City are getting through games. I know everyone will say they find a way to win. There are signs there that, I'm going to say the dreaded S words, it's not sustainable. So let's see. But I
They've been
agree with
winning
your
games
kind of,
by 1 goal for a while since Rodri got injured.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, against Southampton, they should have won by more. But there's been other games where they've been very fortunate.
Yes.
So let's see. I like the timeline you've got of like, let's see what it's like come January. Hopefully, it's not more than 5 points, and then take it from there. Because I agree, with a fully fit squad, we absolutely can go on a run like last year. And you know what? 9 games gone so far. Our record so far is identical to last year as well in
And that's
terms
crazy
of
when you
played.
compare the fixtures, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's lots of time to go. But in terms of going back to the kind of timeline and moments and stuff, one thing I just wanted to bring up, because this is something that will wind me up because it's not going to get mentioned. We got a lot of shit towards us around dark arts and all of that bollocks after Man City and Tottenham and stuff, right? In the first few minutes of the game, Van Dijk was doing all of that nonsense with Kai Havertz, and Anthony Taylor blew for the foul. I don't know if you saw that. It was off the ball. He was like
Yeah,
having a
didn't
little
give him
dig,
any cards. Yeah.
yeah, little dig, little kick at him. Luis Diaz was up to all of that. We spoke about his 7 fouls.
McAllister took multiple fouls to get his yellow in the end.
Yeah, and he was rolling around like a little or so and so. I had to bite my tongue there. He was rolling around like a so and so on the floor, was crying why the ball didn't get kicked out of play when it wasn't a head injury. Like Liverpool were
Didn't
up
Diaz also
to
kick the ball away to deny us a
Luis
restart?
Diaz
And
kicked the ball away.
and the new justification is Arsenal weren't set in a position to take it. So
Yeah,
what?
like
Well, Man
Man
City fucking set when we got our sending off. Like
literally.
it infuriates me, this league. I think I've just come to accept it now. Even when we scored the goal that I thought was the winner, I didn't really celebrate so hard. I just knew something was gonna happen. I just fucking knew.
Yeah, it's. I just wanted to bring that up because I don't think that will get mentioned, and it's something like, you know me. I try not to focus on these things, but it's
It won't.
really.
A Liverpool fan messaged me after going, "Oh, Arsenal really fucking longed out that second half of the time wasting." I'm like, okay, mate. Like,
Yeah,
I don't see no one else talking about like why did Liverpool come to Arsenal playing a makeshift back four and not push for the win?
I've not
And
seen that anywhere.
anyway, when Arsenal went to the Etihad and drew the game against Man City last year in March or April or whenever it was, and Man City had KDB injured, they had someone else injured too, and they were like, "Oh my god!" Like Arsenal didn't try to win this game. They went for the 1 point. You know, they've lost the title challenge because they've not pushed for the win here at a rival's home when the rival has injuries. So what? Now that we had that makeshift back four, the same fucking logic doesn't apply. This was their
Yeah.
chance to go 7 points clear.
Mate, I was listening to the Stick to Football podcast this morning on my way somewhere, and it's the one with Lineker, Shearer, and Micah Richards, and even that the general narratives, yeah, like in a sentence, if I could summarize, they're saying how impressed they are with Liverpool, and they were questioning whether Arsenal have sufficient squad depth. I was like, Tomiyasu, Timber not 100%, Saka not 100%, Odegaard's out, Saliba was out, our first choice left back was out, Calafiori. That there's what? Like, how can you question the squad depth when the first layer of the team gets injured and is suspended, and then the second layer has issues as well? That's not squad depth issue. That's mental availability and injury crisis. And then on the Liverpool side of things, exactly that. How is there no criticism for how they approach this? And like, I really want to talk about our approach second half later. There were a couple more moments in the first half, so let's just kind of rattle through them. Like, I think that this is something where the graph illustrates the graph we've got on screen for audio listeners. It just illustrates the dominance in the first half. Like, even though Liverpool had more XG, I think it's heavily inflated by that goal because it comes from the corner and the header ends up essentially being on the goal line. So you see that it's like a rocket. But then look, it's like a flat line until halftime. They didn't create anything until halftime. And ours was slowly creeping up. We created like 2-3 half chances. I'll be honest, I can't actually remember what they were. One was it the penalty incident? And then when Havertz had the volley that he skied.
Yeah, so after not after bloody Gabriel Martinelli got like taken out.
Was that in the first half or the second half?
That was first half, yeah. So
It
he
was
got
first.
taken out like 30th minute or something, and then after that, obviously Havertz skied it. Part of me wonders if he was waiting for a whistle to be blown for like a
Even
penalty.
if he was, that's poor from him. Like I'd be like
It
the
is
basics
poor.
as a kid is play to the whistle, and also I think he has to hit the target with that. Like we'll talk about the penalty incident now, but I think you just have to hit the target, and they should have scored there. But yeah, on that incident, have you had a chance to see it back?
Yeah, I've watched it back. I've tried to look to see where Konate actually touches a ball. I guess you see the ball slightly change direction. Ultimately, right, if you're saying that he wins the ball first and then takes out his man, then how can you be saying Jakub Kivior doesn't win the ball and then take out his man? His man was standing up. His man didn't even fall to the floor. His man and no other Liverpool player was even claiming for a fucking foul.
Yeah.
4 seconds later, when it looks like we have a chance, suddenly the whistle blows. Are you serious? So the whole thing is just, yeah. So for me, it's like you can't have both. You can't say Konate got to the ball in that moment and then say Jakub Kivior did not. For me, I know one's on the floor, one's in the air, but I treat them the same. Like it's either you got the ball or you got the man, and they're saying, well, because he got the ball first, it's fine.
Yeah.
Separate to that, he just slides, right? And like, I don't understand. Like he literally just slides underneath Martinelli. Like I don't see an attempt for a ball personally.
Yeah, I for what it's worth, like I don't think either were a foul. The penalty on Konate on Martinelli, and then obviously the Kivior one. But I just think Havertz, like when the ball then falls there, you got to do better there. But
I know it was bouncing and stuff, but still, yeah, I think you got to do a little bit better. Get
yeah,
him
I thought he
pumping.
was quite quiet actually. I don't know if he's like 100 fully fit, like after his little break, little injury during the international break. But I thought him and Trossard were both quite quiet and ineffective, to be
I think
honest.
everyone's just done. Like Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz, they all look shot. Like they've had to play a lot more minutes than we probably wanted them to, right?
Yeah, but yeah, and then like the other key moment before halftime, before we get onto the second half, was obviously we won the free kick. I think Partey won it, and it was one of those 7 fouls from Luis Diaz. That's when I can't remember if that was the one where he kicked the ball away, but I feel like that was one of the fouls on Partey. And then what a ball from Rice, and yeah, nice of Merino to get his head on the end of that. Flipping out in the ground. How long did that VAR check take? Oh my
It
god.
felt like a lifetime. Like genuinely, I was like, if they're checking for offside, right? And I think I've talked to you about this. Like, where the fuck is semi-automated offside from the Euro 2021? It's 3 fucking years later. 2022, the league decided they didn't want it. Then they finally, a couple years on, they've said, "Oh, look, it actually works," and it's like instant in every fucking tournament in the world. And like, why wouldn't you use it? And then they said it would come in after the international break. I thought they fucking meant after the one in September. We're about to get to the 3rd international break. There's also one in March. So what? Did they just leave it open-ended so it's whenever the fuck they want? How can you have a season where some of the games of the season are officiated with semi-automatic offside and the other half are with like lines they don't know how to draw? Surely it's got to be the same for the consistency of a league campaign. And we're getting further and further into the season. And like, okay, they said it was onside on the day. Great. But why is it taking so long? And where the fuck is semi-automated offside?
Yeah, I don't know. But like as an experience for the fan in the ground, it is pathetic. It's genuinely, it's awful. But like the goal stood, and like fair play to him because there was someone that had their foot quite close to his head, and he still managed to get on the end of it.
He
Yeah,
went for it. Yeah, he was brave, man. He aggressively went for that header. It's like a bullet straight into the net.
yeah. And then yeah, going into half time, mate. Like I said at the start, I was calm. I thought the timing was perfect of the goal. I said to my mates, I thought there's 2 free goals there for us. Obviously best case scenario. And then we come out second half. I'll be honest, I can't really remember the period before Gabriel got injured. But like it wasn't long because he got injured and went off in the 54th minute. And then I want to ask you, because I feel like we can just chunk the second half up, right? Like the first half had lots of moments. Second half, I feel like we can chunk it. How did you feel we performed after Gabriel went off?
So there was very early on when Kivior came on, he made a really nice challenge, and I thought, okay, this is good. Like he needed that moment. Like hopefully this is gonna build him up for the rest of the half. But overall, I think it's hard to say that like, oh, we played negatively and we should have done more to go for the win. When the one time we probably did do that is what led to their equalizer. So it's like it's hard for me to agree with this idea that we should have just piled the kitchen sink forward at 2-1 when literally the one time we did, they came back and scored on an immediate counter.
Yeah,
So like,
I
yeah,
mean,
so I know we were playing negatively, but we were 2-1 up, and before that they'd shown nothing really.
Yeah. Do you think we? I'm not going to ask the question I was going to ask. I'm going to just give my opinion if you don't mind, because for what it's worth, like I know people aren't saying we should have gone for it and kitchen sink and all of that. Like I get it. Like it's a case of like we could have shown a bit more than the pragmatism we did. I just think the specific example I want to use, right? You remember 2 seasons ago when we lost Saliba and we had to play Rob Holding? What do you remember from that period as the differences on Arsenal's defensive shape with and without Saliba and then with Holding?
So I think I remember. Firstly, I was scared playing out from the back, and secondly, it felt like we dropped back 10 yards. So it was almost like
Okay.
it wasn't like negative by design. It was we did not have like. I'm sorry, Gabriel was defending
No, that's it.
Salah at the halfway line.
So that's it. So what was it you said? We dropped
Yeah, like
back
we
10
just
yards,
dropped
right?
back 10
Okay.
yards. Yeah.
Now,
Like we
second
just couldn't
question.
play further forward. Yeah.
Now, second question. We were without Saliba already. Gabriel then went off. What traits do you think Gabriel and Saliba have in common as a profile of player?
Just I think for me, the athleticism to be able to win against anyone in a one-on-one, like
There we go.
whether
That's
it's for like you could be running from the halfway line to your goal, and I would have confidence they will make it.
there we have it. Like, and then do you think Jacob Kiwior and Ben White as a partnership are able to replicate that?
Absolutely not on the fly as well. Like
So
I
that,
don't think we'll have ever even paired them together ever
mate,
before that.
that back four would have never played together in training, let alone
Yeah,
in
not
a
even in
real.
training.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like, I think it's so simple for me. I get it. The idea of us showing more than we did, I would love that as well. I just think, especially like, well, I've played football since I was 4 years old, right? There's something about certain leaders and relationships and defenders that vocally lead a line. Ben White, Jacob Kiwior, I don't think are those sort of players. To Party, I would say, is probably not that player. And like, I know the goal came after Lewis Skelly came on for Timber. It wasn't even straight after Gabriel, but I don't think it would have been a conscious effort to go to that level of pragmatism. I think it's like you said, when Rob Holding came into the team for Saliba, we didn't have the profiles and the attributes to maintain that level of quality structurally and both individually in the personnel. It's the exact same thing. The drop off is too big. Gabriel enables us to be able to play high, aggressive. I was impressed we managed it without Saliba. I thought that's where Ben White and Gabriel did great as a partnership. But like you said, 2 years ago, they had that experience. Jacob Kiwior and Ben White, I don't think they've ever played together as a centre back pairing. So
and
I
not with
don't,
Party and Lewis Skelly either side. Party's a midfielder, and Lewis Skelly's only started playing left back for the first time in his life. He was a
yeah.
fucking midfielder as well through his entire youth academy period.
And this is where I really can't wrap my head around this idea of we should have gone for it more. Like I love the idea of it, I really do.
Especially at 2-1, though. I don't understand. Like, you could fault us for not being clinical with the chances we had in the first half, not making more of that control, not being more goals ahead come second half. But at 2-1 up with Gabriel subbed off and then following that Timber subbed off, like we couldn't replicate the way we played
Yeah,
with
and
that
I would
team.
go as far as arguing if we tried to, and again, like I think there's a balance, right? Let's just say the first half, structurally, implementation wise, is a 9 out of 10. Second half was a 3 out of 10, just for sake of conversation. Like I think there is a possibility that we could have struck a middle ground and gone for like a 6, 7 instead of the 9. But I still think even if you go to that level, we'd get picked off. Liverpool's one chance and goal in the second half, it came in a transition. And like you already said, Gabriel, he would vocally command that. His presence would command that area. And Jacob Kiwior just doesn't have that same presence
I
around
think
him.
he
And
just completely took himself out of the game. I know people saying like, oh, like it's because Lewis Skelly was playing there. But I think there's a variety of things. Lewis Skelly made what I thought was an ambitious pass through the midfield to Martinelli. Martinelli was knackered by this stage, and I don't think he didn't make it, didn't make the right choice there. And the next thing you know, immediately they're on the counter. Kiwior looks like God knows what fucking position he was standing in. And by then it's too late. They're through. It's like he
yeah,
literally was out of the game. Like when I saw that counter begin and I saw where Jakub was standing, I was like, that's it. He's out of this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I knew straight away that was it. Goal done. And this is where, like, I know fans are getting annoyed about the excuses and stuff, but I can't wrap my head around how this can't be taken into context. The fact that we ended with a back four, and like let's forget what we ended with. Even the period of Party, White, Kivior, and Timber, and a Timber that's not 100% match fit and was struggling against Salah in a few 1v1s. I don't understand what people were expecting. Like it wasn't great. I know that. I just don't think we had the facilities and the resources to maintain a level that was higher. Like I think there is a slight concern in there mentality wise. Like I said, it after the first goal we dropped off slightly, but then we regained it. So like there is something there. I don't disagree with that. I just think overall to like cast that as the conclusion, I'm not sure I can personally get on board with that.
Yeah, no, I think you said it all fairly. Is there any other bits in that end of the game? I'm just having a look. Obviously, now
Just
when Ari and Jesus came on, right? I don't know
yeah,
if
I
you
was
had
just
thoughts
gonna
on them.
say my I don't think Arteta's been amazing this last week, but I empathise with what he's had to deal with. I didn't like the solution against Bournemouth, but for me, I thought we were screaming out for offensive changes before he made them in this game. I thought you could tell. I said it already. I thought Havertz and Trossard were very ineffective in this game.
Mhm.
I thought Havertz looked like he was flagging. Saka, you could tell, was flagging at points. And I thought we could have really done with a Gabriel Jesus where we couldn't really keep the ball. I think having a Jesus in there who can go and be a live wire, if we brought him and Waneri on the 85th minute, I feel like that was a sub that was a little bit too late. And obviously their goal came in the 81st minute. So like I don't know what knock-on impact that would have had. But if we brought them on earlier, I reckon you never know. It could have gone in a different
Things
way.
could have
But
gone differently. Yeah, I think I definitely tend to think that those subs were a bit too late. Maybe they could have been done earlier. But having said that, I expected so much more from Jesus. Just in terms of like when he did come on, that first throw in, he just wasn't even alert to the fact that there was someone trying to throw him a ball. Like, it was the first play and it was right by the North Bank and we were in an attacking third. And I see someone try to throw the ball to him and he's just like looking around, like, oh, right, you're trying to pass me. I'm like,
I'll be honest, I
what
can't
the?
remember that.
But yeah, that was like his first moment in the game. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. I could hear a few sighs around me. And immediately people were on his case. And I was like, again, like he needs some love. Like
This
we
is
will
where
need him throughout the season. We need to build him
yeah.
up. He needs a goal the way Martinelli needed.
Hopefully he does well against Preston midweek. But like this is where like when things are going for you and when they're not. Like I thought, do you remember when Airy took a corner? Great corner, by the way. And then it came out to Jesus. He took a really nice touch and then like volleyed it and it just goes straight to the keeper. But like it was impressive movement to get it
And it was on
on
target. It
target.
was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the final one, which we've spoken about, it would have been Jesus's goal. That's the sort of thing where when you're
That's
in
just
that
what you need. Yeah.
yeah, and like I guess that's probably the no. Before we talk about that incident, can I just get one question from you? One answer, sorry for the question. What did you think of Miles Lewis Skelly coming on ahead of Zinchenko? Do you think there's anything to read into that?
I don't personally think so. I think it just shows, like, you know what it was? Before the game, I remember I said to you about whether I thought maybe he could start. That would be really nice. And we say he's probably not ready.
I
But
think
one
you
of the things,
predicted him, didn't you?
yeah, well, I think I wanted him to start. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted him to start ahead of Kivior and Zinchenko. And my reasoning for it was that I said that his confidence on the ball is disgusting at that age. Like, and there was a moment, there was a moment where he received the ball around the middle of the, just outside the penalty box, around the middle of the pitch, and 3 men were on him, and you could see they're all like, "Let's pick on the inexperienced guy. This is it. We're gonna pressure him, high turnover, bang the winner." And he just calmly found Declan Rice, zero sweat, and I was like, "Shit, man. Okay,
I'm
like
so
this
glad you
is why
mentioned that
Arteta
because
likes him."
I forgot that one. And in the stadium, I felt anxious when I saw
I
him being
was
pressed, and
scared when
I
I
was
saw them
like,
coming.
I started clapping. I was like, fair
But
play.
that moment for me was a sign of why he was picked ahead of them. And then obviously the play he made to try and get us forward with Martinelli, which then ended up in the counter attack. And obviously, like, it's not great him having to defend Salah anyway. But in general, I was like, he's doing enough to prove that he's going to get a lot more minutes. And people, I think, have been far too focused on Ethan not getting enough minutes when another Haaland superstar is right there and not being given the same level of respect just because he doesn't play as like an attacking midfielder. And I think that is not right. Like, you can't be beating the manager with the stick of he won't play the youth when back-to-back games where we've been trying to win, he's brought him on ahead of
And we have had
seasoned
a fullback
internationals.
crisis as well, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So like I really rate Lewis Skelly, and I hope we see both him and Ethan start in the midweek against Preston. I think you know what it is. They're very. It must be something to do with the training, how they listen to what they're being asked, the instructions that's being given to them, and the way they're probably able to very quickly take that information and implement it at that age against the grown men in training. I think that's what's getting them these minutes. And I honestly
Yeah.
think, Lewis Skelly, I wasn't surprised because my thinking was, what you're going to do? Bring on Zinchenko? Like, is that what you want to do in this game? Maybe. I think the only thing you could say about Lewis Skelly is that you think like he's a bit small and like, could he be like out muscled by grown men in the Premier League? But he always just looks so composed on the ball.
Yeah,
Like,
on the ball,
it
it's
doesn't seem
great.
to phase him.
Yeah, I've got my 2 pence, like, and I know we'll try wrap up in the next few minutes. But my final 2 pence on this Zinchenko Lewis Skelly thing. I'm not sure this is a narrative. I'm throwing it out there. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But there's been a lot of quotes coming out from Zinchenko recently, like in the media, like quotes about Man City, him with Bernardo Silva on holiday, this, that. I would not be surprised if he's going through the Ramsdale treatment where he's just opening his mouth up a bit too much in the press. Arteta doesn't really like the mentality he's portraying. He even said, like in a text to the Arsenal group after the draw against Man City, describing Man City as the best team in the world. Like there's a little bit there where I'm like, is Arteta questioning his mentality? Like, yeah, I don't know. One to keep an eye on, but
He has been mouthing off a lot recently to the press. That is for sure.
I might be reaching on that, but yeah, I guess we've covered most of it. The final place to end, I think, is obviously on that incident. Like we've touched on it in bits during this, but go on, have your say on that final incident where Kivior supposedly fouls one of their players, and that we don't even get to the point where we can get a VAR check on the goal because it was ruled out so early.
I think that's what's frustrating, right? It's like you would think that like if that ball plays, they can't really find any possible reason to remove it with VAR if the whistle hasn't gone. So it's almost like a last ditch. You know what it is? I don't even think it's a conspiracy. I've always said it's incompetence. And I think part of that incompetence comes from the fact they didn't want to make any big decisions. So when you look at like the Van Dijk incident off the ball, a couple of, violent conduct attempts he made at Havertz, when you look at these moments that can change the game, the penalty for Martinelli, like every single decision that would have been a decision that could have been controversial, they didn't want to give. Like even right at the end, the corner where they literally kicked it twice to make sure they kicked it out over the goal line, became a goal kick, and Jesus got a yellow card for complaining, why didn't he get the corner? And you think a team like Arsenal, they've 2-2 in the North Bank, corner, Ethan just delivered a fantastic corner the one before. And again, like imagine that had been the corner that won Arsenal again. So for me, it's not about conspiracy.
I forgot about that.
These guys bottled the fucking decisions that could have led to anything happening that would have been controversial. They just had to protect themselves, these fuckers.
I think for me, that incident is like you're meant to let the play go on. We see it all the time to the point where it annoys us. Like, why are they letting it go on? And the one time we needed it to go on, and like, I'm not gonna lie, like I think it possibly may have been ruled out for a Havertz handball or possibly a Havertz foul on Trent, but we don't know that. It's getting rid of the opportunity for us to experience a positive variance. And that's where that doesn't make any sense. The timing of him ruling that as a foul, mind-blowing. Absolutely
When not a
mind-blowing.
single Liverpool player is calling for it.
That's
and
such
you
a
can
good
see
point.
he's looking like up the pitch. He's looking at Havertz managing to get the ball under control, and he's through on goal. And it's like, you expect me to believe that 4 seconds later, when you've seen the Arsenal player win the ball, that's when you suddenly decide that thing was a foul. I remember at Old Trafford when we scored a goal to open the scoring a few years ago. And VAR ruled it out, even though the ref on the day played on with the foul supposedly from Odegaard. And later they said that that was a mistake and VAR shouldn't have overruled it because it wasn't a clear and obvious error. And that they had apparently said that they're not going to let fouls like that, damage the flow of games. So it just feels like every few seasons, some new initiative comes in and then it gets abandoned within a few months. And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. Very much so. But yeah, that's a wrap. I think that was nice, just literally on an hour. So we've done well there for those of you that have been watching live. Hope you've enjoyed it. We will be back on Friday to preview the Newcastle game. I'm going to Preston on Wednesday, so I can talk a little bit about that experience. That'll be quite cool. But all I'd say is, like, we're 9 games in. What's the gap? Is it 5 points? I really believe that City and Liverpool have some tough runs coming up. I know we've got Newcastle away, Chelsea away, but I really believe that those two will slip up by January. I don't think they're going to go and win all of those games. And if we can get everyone back and fit and available and get through these next two, come after the international break, I really think we have the ability to put together a run like we did last season. So stay patient, stay with the team. Unfortunately, we don't have a guaranteed 3 points against Man United in December because Ten Hag has been sacked. But yeah, we'll see who they come up with. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Do you want to leave anything on the table before we get out of here?
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please do subscribe if you're new to the channel on our way to the 350 subscriber milestone. Like the episode if you enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday for the preview. Hopefully, big game against Preston. See some more fringe players and youth players start. And yeah, I think the final thing is if you're on podcast and you like this, please do consider leaving a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. And that would be very much appreciated, guys.
Lovely stuff. You heard the man. Do all of that. Por favor. On to Preston, and then we'll be back on Friday. Nice one. Thanks, everyone. Up the Arsenal.
Come on, you guys.